do appreciate you, so thank you very much.
No, thank you so much. This is an honour. Yeah, it's a privilege.
Do you know what? Actually, to be fair, I feel like I'm like fangirling a little bit, because if someone had said to me 2 years ago, you're going to be sitting down and talking to your favourite TikToker, I'd be like, nah, no way. Like, I was trying really hard to go through my screenshots the other day of where, like, I remember before I started content creation, and I was like, okay, who do I want to work with? And I remember I had 3 men in particular, 3 black men: Josh Rivers, Geda Phillip, and yourself, right?
Oh,
but I can't find the screenshot. It's really annoying. But like, this feels very surreal, and I want you to know that I really do appreciate you, and I'm really excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, like, I love what you do as well, and like, you're very talented, and it's an honour to be here and to have this conversation with you. Like, thank you.
I think it's like a wonderful coincidence that it happens to be this festival at the same time as Black History Month, which I think is very significant to myself and to you. So my first question to you is, my friend, what does Black History Month mean to you?
Oh, what does Black History Month mean to me? Black History Month for me is another opportunity to celebrate Black culture and Black history and the amazing contributions that Black people have made to society and culture in the UK. And I say another opportunity very intentionally, because we should be doing so all year round. I know I'm very Black and proud all year, right? Period. But it's another opportunity, right, to do the work and to be heard and to be seen, right, and to take up space. Yeah,
I have like mixed opinions, to be honest with you. Like, I love all this recognition and like praise we get for this 1 month, right? But my mentality is, I'm like this 12 months around. I feel like not like a lot, but enough for it to be an issue. Companies and corporates put so much time and energy and emphasis into Black History Month, but then like, it's not necessarily attained for the remaining 11 months, if that makes sense. You know, but obviously, like, it's great to have the recognition, but it might mean, sometimes when I look at spaces or like companies or groups, organizations, I just think, okay, so you've put so much time into it for this 1 month, but if anything, I'd rather you balance it out for the whole 12. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, definitely. It feels like very performative when people just, I always joke, right? I always joke that when it comes up to Black History Month, when it comes up to Pride, I get these emails which are basically like, oh, are you Black? Oh, wait, you're gay, right? And it's like, yes, I am. Like, great, we'd love to work with you for the specific thing that's happening in a specific month. And it feels like a tick box, you know what I mean? And like I said, like, I'm Black and gay and British and all these things all year round, right? Why do you only care when it benefits you, right? Because, you know, when it comes to Black History Month, people are like, okay, this is our opportunity to show what we're doing for the Black community because everyone's thinking about it now. But it's not, it's almost as if like it's not as valuable when it's not October. And it's like, it has just as much value, right? And I think, I wish there was, yeah, I just wish that wasn't something that we have to push against, but it is, unfortunately.
Would you say then, does Black History Month continue to have the same significance which it had from the origin?
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. There are many reasons why Black History Month is important, but you only have to look at the origins, like how it came about in the UK anyway, to get like a really clear reminder as to why. So sincere apologies, I've actually misremembered the guy's name, the man's name, the Ghanaian who started it. I want to say Akiaba. I'm going to look that up because it's very important that we actually say people's names. It is, and this, you know, this is something that, you know, we actually just should be able to say offhand. Akiaba Adesibo, who is Ghanaian,
Oh, so your country then?
Yeah, I'm Ghanaian by ethnicity. He started Black History Month in the UK, and the story that he says, that he tells about the origins of Black History Month in the UK is that basically his colleague came into the office and she's Black and she was really upset, and he was like, oh, why are you upset? Why are you down today? And she was like, my son came home from school today and told me that he wished he was white. And it made her really upset, and she was really down by that. Like, you know, obviously you would be,
as you would be, yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm.
And he realized that there wasn't enough happening to affirm like young Black children, right, or Black people in the UK in general. Black people weren't seeing themselves reflected when we were talking about history and you know, and significant achievements, you know, and the value that we were adding to culture here wasn't being recognized.
Yeah,
right.
Mm-hmm.
And now fast forward to 2023, and a study came out recently which said that about half of Black Britons don't feel proud to be British.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
and that's not a shock to me. You know, like I find it really hard to be proud about my British identity, but that's my identity to be proud of, right? I deserve to be proud of that. And that's one clear reason why Black History Month is so important. We deserve to stand up and be counted and be proud that we are British, because we are equally as British. It doesn't matter the color, you know, what color our skin is, right? I was born in South London. Do you know what I mean? And can't no one take that away from me.
100%. And even like to like people in the Black community who are born in this country, I think even those who aren't, who then migrated to this country, they've still put so much like amazing work in. But I feel like we don't always recognize and appreciate like how this country has been built up by a lot of immigrants. You know, so my grandparents, they moved here from the Caribbean, from Jamaica in the 1950s, and their work ethic is literally like astounding. Like the way in which they would just go by their day to day. Because I feel like we're in a period now where like we really want a job that's based on like passion and interest, whereas a lot of the Africans and Caribbeans that moved in that time period, their mentality was, I just want to move to provide. I don't really, there's nothing I'm driving towards in particular. I just want to be able to put food on the table for my family, which then led on to helping the whole country, the economy, and doing all of that, you know? And I think we can be a bit naive, and we don't really always, I say we because I think I mean like all of us at times, appreciate like how much like work like immigrants have put into this country. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but that's intentional. That's not something that's just happened, right?
Yeah.
Our contributions are consistently overlooked in a very intentional way, right? Our histories are erased consistently in a very intentional way. It's very convenient to look at these things as coincidences or things that just happen. It's like, no, they're happening for a reason. You know, there are people who are actively trying to make, you know, to do that, actively doing this, right? Because it benefits them, right? So I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. And again, that's why Black History Month is so important, because it's another opportunity to shout about what we bring to this country, right? And what we have brought to this country, you know?
With regards to talking about, let's talk about like Black historical figures. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts. Do you have any like particular people in mind that you think of when we think of who are like the people in Britain who we recognise as people of colour, Black people who have really made like a lot of contribution? Is there anyone you think of?
So many people, right? A childhood hero of mine is Mallory Blackman, which for any kind of right, I feel like, yeah, like, right. If you were a Black child who loved to read, like especially in like the noughties, right, like noughts and crosses, like, you know, Mallory Blackman is like is a childhood hero of mine, and I didn't realize it at the time, but like looking back, seeing her books in the library and reading her books and just having like a Black, you know, woman who, you know, to look up to, right, in the space of like writing, right, it was huge, right? That representation can't be taken away, right? It can't be denied. It was massive. So that's someone who I would say personally has like really contributed to, you know, the person I am today. I also think a lot about Justin Fashanu, who was the first Black professional footballer to come out as gay. Oh no, the first
footballer, period. Yeah, I believe so as well. Yeah.
No, thank you for that correction. Yeah, to come out as gay, and in the 90s, I believe, right?
I want to say so. Yes.
Yeah. And he's no longer with us, but like that's huge. That was massive, and he he took so much like flack for that, right? In the face of opposition, he was proud to be himself.
Yeah, the press were horrible to him. Like, just disgusting. Yeah.
It was awful.
Horrific.
It was awful. And he made the decision to put his head above the parapet and be like, this is who I am. And he's someone who I find very inspiring. And I find his story is one that I try to emulate in my own life, you know? Like, I try to be loud and proud of my identity, even when it's hard, right? Because that's often when it's most important to be proud about who you are.
100%. I think there are times where we feel like, as Black queer people, we may have to switch codes, and a lot of the time it's so we feel safe, you know, which is quite infuriating because you're literally just being yourselves. Yeah. I always have this argument with people that, like, I'm just trying to be my true, authentic queer self, but then even if I don't think I'm like, how would I word it? Someone who like shouts back and forth, but like even if I wanted to be, I should be allowed to, do you know what I mean, without feeling any resistance or anything else. I think when I think of my Black historical figures who I really resonate with, I think Lady Phil's at the top.
Oh yeah.
I think the work that she has done for our community is like unbelievable. Like you couldn't match it, could you really? And I think to be able to be in the presence and to have conversations with her just feels, she's like the next version of God to me, to be honest. I also really appreciate a lot of current people that are making spaces, not necessarily in like activism work, but like, well, I guess no, it is activism, but people who are like in the media representing us. I think Ncuti Gat was a great example. I think Yasmin Finney as well. I think two prominent Black queer people in spaces, normalizing, leading roles, you know, in a very highly respected TV shows, on a Netflix show. Do you know what I mean? We wouldn't have seen this 15 years ago. I think they're people that I really like, hold close to my heart and really resonate with.
Yeah, no, I cannot agree more. Shout out to Ncuti, the next Doctor Who. Like,
I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm so gassed. I'm so gassed.
That is huge. Like, whenever I think about it, I smile. Like, and wherever he is, I hope he's doing well. Like, I hope his pillow is always cold. Like, cause yeah, he's like, I love him so much, and I just love what he's doing.
So Ncuti Gatwa fan account clearly this.
I am a stan at this point. Me and you both. Like, period. I think I would like melt if I met him, like, ever. I do think this. Like, if I met Ncuti Gatwa, like, he just doesn't look real. He's so like symmetrically like beautiful. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get nervous at most times anyway when I meet like attractive people, but Ncuti Gatwa is just like a chiseled god, you know. I don't know what I do. Flawless. Oh, is this you shooting a shot?
My Instagram is in the bio description below.
Okay, all right. Hey, I support that. Yeah.
But I think also something important to discuss is the intersections. I feel like, actually, do you know, I picked this up from your book. It was the chapter, forgive me, I can't remember what it was named, but it was about Blackness and queerness, and how sometimes it feels like you're kind of having to pick one and not the other. Yeah. It kind of feels like a lot of the time in our community, they're not embraced as a pair, you know?
Yeah, I talk, so I have a chapter on intersectionality, and I started by talking about the fact that there's this like narrative that we are taught as like young Black boys that there's a certain way to be a Black man, and you know, Black men do this and Black men don't do that, you know. And one of the things Black men don't do is, you know, date other dudes, right? You know, and they're not allowed to be expressive in the same way, you know, as like women are. And there's a lot of toxic masculinity within, you know, this like within the community of like Black men, or at least there was when I was growing up, and I think people are really trying to change that now. But how I was raised in a way that made me feel like who I was as a Black man wasn't enough, you know. And a huge part of that was because of my sexual orientation. I felt like because of that, I wasn't as important, or I wasn't as Black, whatever that means, you know. You know, and that really does something to a person, you know. And I sometimes I think about what would have happened if how I might be different as a person now if I had grown up having all parts of myself affirmed, right? I'd be a totally different person.
100%, and I think that's why it's great to have role models like you with a platform that do the things and talk about the things that you talk about. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because you're so empowering and so liberating with the way you embrace Black queer people. And I know for a fact, if TikTok was a thing 10 years ago, that would have helped so many people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is a tough thing to talk about, because I think sometimes people can get a bit defensive when it comes to this conversation about queer inclusion in Black spaces, because they feel like maybe you're being a bit like overly critical, and of course we should be coming together and being united. And it's like, well, that only, and I get it, but that only holds power and weight if we're all truly included. Yeah. And we're often not. Right. And that's something that's important to acknowledge.
100%. You mentioned a part in your book about how like a lot of queer spaces and queerness in general seems to be centered and focused on like whiteness. And even in like all kinds of spaces like entertainment, like corporate, realistically, if there's a queer person who's on the front cover more than not, it tends to be someone who's not of color, you know? We're kind of making the changes slowly and surely, but like 9 out of 10 times, you know, and I feel like that can be an issue as to why Black people can have this identity crisis, because if you don't see yourself in those spaces or like on those platforms, how would you find a sense of belonging? Does that make sense?
It does. It really does. It definitely does. And community is everything, right? Like feeling like you are part of something bigger than yourself is huge, right? It gives you purpose and it gives your life meaning, right? And so if you're someone who exists at the intersection of being Black and queer, you're looking to those two groups, right, and trying to find community, and it can be hard on both ends, right? And that's really damaging, you know. But things are changing, you know. Representation is improving, and I think I'm feeling positive about how things are going when it comes to that sort of thing, right? But we can always be doing more.
I think the Black queer like creative spaces was very close knit. Like I haven't had any like, I've only ever had positive encounters with like Black people like yourself. Like when we met, like you were like very like friendly from the jump, and I was like, oh my god, what's good? Because I was quite fresh to it back then. Like I think we would have met last November.
Yeah.
It was at Madam's show, and like from the jump you were just so friendly, and that seemed to be a repeated pattern with a lot of Black queer people. But I think my question to you is, within this month in particular, and I guess whole year round, how do we provide safe spaces for Black queer people, but in like the Black community as a whole?
Like I think like platform us, amplify us. Like I always talk about how, I often talk about how like allyship is not about giving a voice to the voiceless, because everyone's got a voice. Do you know what I mean? We're here, right? Like people are doing the things, you know. So what you do is you create space, and you support people who are already doing the things, right? You know, there's right now, because of what's happening in this country, like, you know, politics wise, the trans community are under attack, right? And a lot of people are asking, what can we do? What can we do? And it's like, you support people who are doing the work. There are people who are already advocating for this community. They need you to support them. A lot of times we don't need to create something new, right? We don't need to find something different. What we need is already here. It's already within us, within our community, you know? Like all we can do, what we need to be doing is like supporting that, nurturing that, amplifying that, right? So if you're somebody who wants to support Black queer people during this month, find Black queer people who are doing the things and support them. It's really as simple as that.
Yeah, I feel like allyship is a lot more than purely just sharing a Black square or sharing something online. Have a vulnerable conversation, present that information to someone who may not necessarily be familiar with that content or experience, you know? I think you definitely emphasize on the importance and how people who are in our communities, if you are an ally, it's more than just doing the basic day-to-day activity. You know, what are you going to do that's different to improve the life for us and for the community as a whole?
Yeah, like do the work, right? Do the work. And if you don't know how to do the work, like you're not sure, like find people who are already doing the work and support them, right, in doing the work. I think that it's about action, right? And there are many ways. There are many ways to act, right? There are many ways to do the work, and they're arguably all equally as important as each other, as one another. But what's most important, fundamentally, is that we're all just doing something, that we're acting on it.
And it's like what we say: action do speak louder than words, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you're very well known for your. I would personally, as someone who knows you personally and professionally, I would say that your brand is like emphasizing the importance of kindness. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Is that appropriate?
Yeah.
So like within this particular month, what can we do as Black people to like be kind to ourselves and also be kind to others?
So something that I am thinking about a lot this month is the importance of rest.
Rest.
Do you know Trisha Hersey? Trisha Hersey?
I know the name.
Trisha Hersey, that's her name. She is the founder of the NAP Ministry. An amazing woman. Definitely check out her content and the work that she does. But she speaks a lot about the rest being resistance, which isn't new. Like, that's not a new concept. Audre Lorde talks a lot about that. But she's someone right now who's like, really kind of emphasizing the importance of rest for Black people specifically. And that's because we live in these systems that are designed to drain us, right? And exploit us. And how we can kind of reclaim agency of ourselves and our bodies and our minds, right? And affirm our own humanity is by resting and checking out whenever possible, and disengaging from these harmful systems. And one way we can do that is by taking a nap, right? Is by not pushing ourselves to the brink, right? And exhausting ourselves. Like, it's not everyday Black excellence. Some days it's just Black, I'm here and I'm doing my best. And I think that's a really significant way that we can be kind to ourselves as Black people. We don't always have to be doing the most, especially when we're doing the most to please people who don't care about us.
And I feel like for people like you and I who have content which consists on upraising the Black voice and the Black space, because we talk about things about like self-help guides and how to improve the day-to-day. I feel like it can feel quite pressurizing for us to not be in that position, to not try and provide like resources all the time,
Yeah, you gotta really respect the fact that we all have a capacity.
Yeah. And
once that's out, that's it, that's done. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? Do you know what I mean? 100%. And so, like, that's something which we need to remember. We can't always give. We need to, especially when we're not giving to ourselves first either. Something I talk about in my book is the importance of choosing yourself and putting yourself first. And that doesn't mean that you only choose yourself, right? Because that'd be selfish, but it's more about just prioritizing your well-being so then you can be somebody who is an adequate support for other people, right? You got to give to yourself first so you can give to others.
And my final question to you is, how do you find Black joy?
Oh, how do I find Black joy? How do I find Black joy? So, how do I find Black joy? I'm gonna think about that one. It depends. It depends. I'm someone who's like I'm very extroverted. I like to be out and about, and something that I love being, socializing and listening to music, going to gigs, going to festivals, and being in places like this literature festival. It's so awesome to be here. And I find Black joy in just doing the things that I enjoy, which sounds very simple, but I don't deprive myself of pleasure. I'm very much a hedonist to a certain extent, right? But I try and find moments of hedonism, in my day-to-day and in my life. I don't live for the weekends. You can make every day a Saturday if you want it to be. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, I'm just a pure vibe, to be honest with you.
I hear it, you are.
Not all the time, you know.
Yeah, we've all got rest days, come on, don't be silly.
And we've all got sad days as well, do you know what I mean? But I try and I sit in that. I sit in that, you know, sometimes you got to take a beat, sometimes you're sad, sometimes you're upset, you know, life's hard, right? But I always try to pick myself up and enjoy my life, you know? It's a privilege to be here.
And it's a privilege to have this conversation with you. Thank you so much. I love and appreciate you. And
likewise.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this. Thank
Likewise.
you so much for having me. This has been
really cool. I do
I'm
appreciate
really
you. Thank you so much. It means a lot.
Oh, yes.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No, it's fine. So this is my baby. Hope this helps how to be kinder to yourself and others. It's a practical, accessible guide to kindness, really. And if you're somebody who wants better for yourself and for the world and for your community, then this is a book that I think you may find helpful.